stuff is not because I want to say like, oh man, I know everything about the industry. Everything that comes out of this mouth is gold. It doesn't work that way, okay? I'm saying this to you because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Things have changed a lot in this industry since I started. Everything used to be recorded on tape back then, for instance. Now it's all digital. So, essentially, the way things work is there are several different layers of voiceover, depending on where you go. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but there are the lower tier stuff, and then there's the upper tier stuff. So lower tier stuff is sort of like the free things that you see on the internet. Maybe you see like a web cartoon. Somebody got a bunch of voices. They went to like, say, voiceactingalliance.com. It's a bunch of free stuff. They just say, hey, I got this show I'm trying to make. Who's interested in being in this? And people send in some auditions. A little bit up higher than that is like the smaller stuff that pays a little bit. A little bit up from that, you got online things like voices.com, things like that. You keep going up, now you get into stuff like anime, which is, I'm assuming, something a few of you guys might be interested in. Show of hands, does anybody here like anime? Really? What? I'm so shocked. Anywho, so then there's that, and then it just keeps kind of going up and up. Like, the weird thing is how the industry is structured is stuff that you probably just kind of gloss over is some of the highest paying stuff out there. Like if you look at, like, say, the movie trailer announcer guy, back when Don LaFontaine was alive and did everything like that, the dude was raking in like millions of dollars every year to basically say, in a world where, and that was it. But like, stuff that you will break your back on sometimes doesn't pay that well. Anime, for instance, depending on where you go, like in Texas, the top tier you get is like $50 an hour. You come in, you do like 2 hours a week. So every week you make $100. And that's what it's like. So let's see. I guess, since this is an anime convention, let's talk about anime first, okay? The way things are structured is, for every single show that you see, all of us come in, go into a single room. Usually it's the actor, and on the other side of the glass is voice director and an engineer, and that's it. And those three people are essentially what makes up the show. The weird thing is that none of us see the script beforehand. So nobody really knows who they're going to be playing until we get there. And then it's going to be like, okay, so I'm going to have you play, Village Elder A, and I'm going to have you be Screaming Little Boy B, and you're also going to play this monster character. So it's up to the director, who essentially is there to keep everybody on track. Without a good director, it's just a bunch of actors who don't know what anybody else has already done, going in there going, this syncs up. So the engineer, of course, is there to set the levels, make sure the mic is set properly and everything's recorded correctly and it all sounds good, and the actor's there to try not to screw up. We do this one at a time specifically because if we don't, it's just a cacophony. It would be a disaster. It would be a bunch of people in there going like, okay, is it my turn to speak? Now! And trying to jump up and leap on mic because everything has to be done, timed out to pre-existing animation. We can't change any of the stuff that comes from Japan very much. So if a character's mouth is flapping like this, bop, 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 you have to figure out a way of speaking English without sounding like William Shatner. And sometimes scripts are written that way. It's like, it's beat, not the way I planned. So you can't say like, it's not the way I planned. Because people go, that sounds terrible. So you have to figure out a way of going like, it's not the way I planned, and make sure it naturally manages to sync up. Then you got the engineer who's there who can use Pro Tools to slide everything into place. And that's sort of how all of this stuff comes together. We as voice actors don't really have too much say in stuff. So if you ever go to a panel and you have a question and you say like, how come you guys did it this way? From an actor's point of view, we go, 'cause I was told to. That's just sort of how we roll. Video games. Anybody here like those?
Yeah.
What? I'm shocked again. Me too. I'm playing the new Smash. Yes. So video games are really crazy. Video game scripts can be thousands and thousands and thousands of pages long. I recently did a JRPG for the 3DS. The script, by the time they were done, was, I'm going to say, 4,700 pages long. because there's so many branching paths that they have to consider. So it's one person who basically wrote the entire English version of the game. And in order for them to have all the different voices in it, you'll hear actors doing multiple roles over and over again because they have to, because they just can't afford to have 300 individual people come in. Second, they definitely can't record that as a group, because if they did, it would be like an entire room full of people all trying to leap on one mic and talk, and it would be impossible. So that's another situation where you need one guy in control of this huge project to make sure everything sounds the same. Otherwise, well, I did this one game a while ago. It was called Rogue Galaxy, for the PlayStation 2. I thought it was going to be a really cartoony game, because my character's kind of wacky, so he's super loud. I don't want to scream into this microphone and blow your eardrums out, but he's very, very crazy, like this. All of the other characters, real. It's like, hey dude, I think we should break into the fortress. Okay, I promise you this is not a good idea. Let's kick some fucking ass! Alright, thanks, good idea. Just like, what? So, if you don't have a director making sure everything's the same, you get kind of screwed, because we actors, we don't know nothing. We just think we do. We like to sound pretty, that's all we do. So the thing that a lot of people in Los Angeles try to do, and by the way, I'm going to be talking mostly about LA because I've never worked in Texas, never